Have you ever wondered why some women seem to know exactly who you are before you've even said a single word? You walk into a room, and before you've opened your mouth, before you've shaken anyone's hand, before you've told a single story about yourself, she already feels something. Sometimes it's curiosity, sometimes it's disinterest, sometimes it's an instant pull she can't explain. And here's the brutal truth: she noticed you in ways you didn't even realize you were broadcasting. Your body, your stillness, your eyes, the rhythm of your steps, all of it spoke louder than your voice ever could. A woman doesn't need to ask you about your childhood to sense whether you carry yourself with wounds you've never faced. She doesn't need to interrogate your career to see if you have drive. She doesn't need to hear your jokes to know if you're trying too hard to earn approval. These signals are written all over you. And once you begin to understand what women instinctively notice without words, you'll realize how much of the game is played in silence. Think about the last time you stood in line at a coffee shop and locked eyes with a woman. She looked at you once, maybe twice, and in those fleeting seconds, she read more about you than you could imagine. Your shoulders told her whether you live in constant tension or deep self-possession. The way you shifted your weight told her if you were comfortable in your own skin or restless in doubt. She caught it all, and she didn't even know she was doing it. It's instinct, survival, selection. Women are wired to pick up on what is unsaid. Now, here's the trap. Most men go through life oblivious to these signals. They think attraction is about the right line, the right story, the right joke. They obsess over clever texts and flashy dates. But if your presence is off, if you're leaking insecurity before you even speak, she's already made her decision. You'll be dismissed before you even knew you were in the running, and no amount of charm will resurrect you. So what exactly does she notice first? The quiet strength or lack of it in your posture. If you stand like a man who shrinks from the world, you're telling her you don't trust yourself to hold space. You don't need to puff your chest out like a cartoon, but if your body tells her you'd rather disappear than be seen, she'll believe it. Second, your eyes. Do they dart nervously, searching for approval, scanning for safety? Or can they hold her without trembling? A man who can look without begging, without needing, without flinching, that man is unforgettable. Third, your energy in silence. Can you wait without filling every gap with chatter? Can you sit with her in stillness without trying to prove your worth? That tells her everything about whether you're a man of presence or a boy of performance. Picture this: you're at dinner with a woman, and the conversation pauses. Most men panic in that moment. They rush to fill the silence with nonsense. They lean forward, start cracking weak jokes, ask random questions, anything to keep her attention from drifting. But she's not judging your wit. She's judging whether your frame collapses in stillness. If you can lean back, sip your drink, let the quiet breathe, and smile like you own the moment, that silence becomes magnetic. She feels safe, she feels drawn in, and she doesn't even know why. Here's where the strategy comes in. You don't need to become someone you're not. You need to become more of what you are without apology. The first step is awareness. Notice how you stand when you walk into a room. Do you lead with your chest or your chin tucked in shame? Notice how you breathe when a woman looks at you. Do you tense up or exhale deeper? Notice how quickly you try to respond when there's silence. Do you collapse under the weight of her gaze? Or can you hold it steady? Train these micro moments, because they reveal more than your words ever will. And here's a practical test you can run in real life. Next time you're talking to a woman and the conversation stalls, resist the urge to fill it. Just let it be. See how she reacts. If she shifts, fidgets, laughs nervously, it means she's not used to a man who can hold silence without fear. That alone sets you apart. You'll feel your own discomfort rise, But if you can master that edge, you'll radiate calm dominance without saying a word. The truth is, women instinctively notice what most men desperately try to hide. They see through the mask of bravado, the forced humor, the polished stories. They notice the small betrayals of your body, the hunched shoulders, the restless hands, the needy glance. And they also notice when you're different, when you don't need their approval, when you're steady, when you're rooted like a mountain while other men chase attention like leaves in the wind. That difference doesn't need explanation. It's felt, and it makes you unforgettable. So let me ask you, have you ever realized too late that you killed attraction before you even spoke? Have you ever noticed a woman withdraw, and only afterward wondered if it was something she picked up on silently? Which part of you do you think women sense first, your strength or your insecurity? When a woman first encounters you, she isn't listening for your voice, she's scanning your frame, not the physical muscles, not the weight you carry, but the unspoken authority in the way you occupy space. Do you step into a room as if you belong there, or as if you're apologizing for being noticed? She catches this instantly. She doesn't rationalize it. She feels it. A man who moves with quiet certainty makes her body lean forward without her permission. A man who walks like he's trying not to bother anyone makes her body lean back, no matter what words leave his mouth later. Here's what you don't realize: women are experts in energy long before they're experts in logic. A woman has walked through her life needing to measure men in silence because her safety and her desire depend on it. She learned to watch her father's eyes before he spoke. She learned to sense her teacher's tension before a word of discipline was given. She learned to spot the difference between the boy who would guard her and the boy who would use her, long before either of them confessed their intentions. By the time she looks at you, she's trained. She's already seeing what you don't even see in yourself. This is why you can't fake it. You can dress well, speak smoothly, even memorize lines that worked for another man. But if your energy is fractured, if you're still begging for approval, if you're still hiding from your own shadow, she notices the fracture before you've said hello. You may fool other men. You won't fool her instincts. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous habits men fall into: over-explaining. You meet a woman, and within minutes, you're proving yourself. You list your accomplishments, your goals, your hobbies, your values. You speak and speak, thinking words will build attraction, but the more you talk, the more she hears desperation echoing underneath. She doesn't need your resume. She needs to feel your solidity. She needs to see if you can look at her with calm eyes. Let her silence test you and not crumble under it. That's where her attraction forms, not in your sentences, but in your steadiness. Here's a scenario every man has faced. You're texting a woman, and she suddenly slows down her replies. Hours stretch, then a day. You panic. You send another message to reignite her interest, maybe 2, maybe 3, and just like that, she's gone. What happened? It wasn't the words. It was what you revealed without words. You told her that her attention controls you, that her silence terrifies you, that you are not centered in yourself. She noticed your lack of restraint instantly, and it confirmed what her body already suspected: you're not the man who can stand still in the storm. So how do you reverse this? Stop chasing her rhythm. Establish your own. If she slows down, you don't adjust. You continue at your pace. If she withdraws, you don't collapse into pursuit. You withdraw too naturally, calmly, without spite. She will notice this without a single explanation. Suddenly you become the rare man who doesn't beg for her validation, who doesn't panic when she tests the leash. That makes her lean in. Let me make this tactical for you. The next time a woman delays her response, ask yourself, what message would I send without a single word if you double text? You've already answered. You told her you're desperate. If you hold your pace, post your gym photo, go about your day. She reads another truth. This man does not orbit around me. He stands in his own gravity. She doesn't need your explanation. She feels the difference. Another instinct she follows is micro-reactions. The moment you feel slighted, she sees it on your face. The flicker of irritation, the quick, forced laugh, the way your posture caves for a second. Women are masters at catching these. She tests you with sarcasm or playful dismissal just to see if your frame bends. If it does, she knows. You can argue back. You can explain it away. But she already saw the fracture. The strategy here is simple. Embrace the test. If she teases you, laugh, not forced, but genuine. If she challenges you, let your eyes sharpen with amusement, not offense. The less you flinch, the more she feels your strength. The bottom line is this: women notice the man you are when you're not speaking. That's where the truth leaks out. You can't rehearse silence. You can't polish instinct. You can only train it by living differently, by practicing restraint, posture, eye contact, and presence until they're no longer techniques, but your natural state. That's when women begin to feel you without needing proof. And once they feel it, they never forget it. Now let me ask you, have you ever caught yourself over-explaining to a woman, hoping she'd see your value in words? Have you ever chased her texts, only to feel her vanish further? Do you recognize that your silence or lack of it may have been the loudest message you sent? Think back to the last time you sat across from a woman you really wanted. Do you remember how hard your body worked against you? Your heartbeat louder than your voice. Your hands finding a nervous rhythm on the table. Your eyes flickering just a little too quickly to see how she was responding. You probably thought she didn't notice. She noticed. She caught the pulse in your neck, the shift in your posture, the hesitation before you spoke. She didn't need to analyze it. Her body interpreted it for her. And what did it say? It said, this man is not at ease in himself. Women don't read the details you obsess over. They don't care about the brand of your shirt, the cleverness of your story, or the angle of your jawline the way you think they do. What they're tuned into is whether you leak need, whether you signal insecurity without meaning to, whether you move like a man who trusts his own weight, or a man afraid he'll collapse if tested. That's the language they're fluent in, the language you didn't know you were speaking. Take the example of nervous over-investment. A woman you just met gives you a little attention, a smile, a kind question, maybe a soft laugh at something you said. You feel a spark of validation. Suddenly, you lean in more. You start telling her too much. You compliment her again and again. You text her the moment you get home, and just like that, she withdraws. Why? Because she felt you place her above yourself. Without a word, you told her you matter more than me, and no woman will stay attracted to a man who abandons his center that quickly. Here's the tactical shift the next time you feel the urge to overinvest. Pause. Let her validation land without letting it drag you forward. Instead of giving more, give less. Match her pace, not exceed it. If she texts once, you reply once. If she smiles, you smile back calmly, without rushing to add another layer of flattery. She will notice your restraint instantly, and instead of pulling away, she will lean in, curious why you don't fold like the others. Another thing, women notice your relationship with other people in the room. She observes how you treat the waiter, the bartender, the stranger who accidentally bumps into you. If you shrink, snap, or overcompensate, she registers it. She feels whether you live from insecurity or from grounded authority. You don't need to perform. Simply treat others with calm respect, with no need to dominate, no need to submit. That quiet balance is rare, and women feel rare. Picture this scenario: you're at a social gathering, talking with friends. A woman is standing nearby, not part of the conversation. She watches how you interact. Do you constantly scan to see if she's looking, betraying that you're desperate for approval? Do you laugh louder than necessary to perform for her attention? Or do you stay immersed with your people, unbothered by whether she notices? Paradoxically, it's when you stop chasing her gaze that she starts to notice you more. Because your presence speaks, I'm already whole. You're welcome to join, but I don't need you to validate me. That message lands before a word passes between you. And here's a trap most men never escape: emotional leakage. You think you're being subtle, but when you're disappointed, angry, jealous, or hurt, your body tells on you. Your jaw tightens, your shoulders slump, your eyes flicker with insecurity. Women catch this in microseconds. They test it too. A teasing comment here, a delayed reply there, just to see how you'll react. If you collapse into visible sulking or anxious pursuit, you've confirmed her suspicion you don't control your own state. The strategy here is brutal but simple: own your emotions before they own you. If you're irritated, breathe and smile. If you're tested, pause and hold the frame. When you show that you regulate yourself, she reads strength in your silence. None of this is about pretending. None of this is about acting. It's about stripping away the false habits that betray you and living in a way that naturally radiates calm, authority. Women are instinctively tuned to pick up what most men try to hide. If you're afraid, they'll sense it. If you're solid, they'll feel it. And here's the beautiful truth: when you stop leaking insecurity, you don't even need to chase attraction. It forms around you like gravity. So let me ask you, have you ever given too much, too soon, and felt her vanish? Have you noticed how she responds differently when you're calm versus when you're anxious? Do you realize how much of what she feels for you comes from what you never said out loud? There's a brutal reality you need to face. Women decide who you are in their world long before you think you've made your case. You believe attraction is built through stories, jokes, and effort. She knows it's built through presence, through the messages you leak without words. And the harshest truth is this: once she reads weakness in you, once she feels your neediness vibrating under the surface, it is almost impossible to undo. You can shower her with attention, gifts, clever lines, and flawless dates. But if her body already registered this man is unsteady, it's already written. Think about the power of first impressions. You walk into a date. She's already watching the way you hand your jacket to the host, the way you greet the waiter, the way you stand before you sit. All of it sends signals. If you fumble, if you look around like you're seeking permission, if you try too hard to please the staff in order to impress her, she notices. Not because she's petty, not because she's calculating, but because she's wired to detect the difference between a man who can carry himself and a man who collapses under scrutiny. And here's something most men never want to admit: women test you without realizing it. That late reply, that sarcastic jab, that sudden withdrawal of attention, it's not always conscious manipulation. Sometimes it's instinct. She needs to feel whether you can withstand pressure without breaking. Your reaction tells her if you're strong enough to be trusted, or if you're fragile and easily swayed. You think she's just being difficult. In reality, she's feeling for the truth. Here's where your tactics matter. When she withdraws attention, most men chase. They text again, they call, they try to fix the energy, and in doing so, they fail the test. They show that her absence destabilizes them. The strategy is the opposite when she withdraws. You don't lean forward, you lean back. You don't explain, you don't demand, you don't beg. You continue moving at your own rhythm. That silence becomes your message. It says, I am not owned by your presence. I am whole in your absence. Few men can project that. The ones who can are unforgettable. Let me make it sharper with a real example. A man goes on a date with a woman he really likes. They laugh. They share stories. There's a spark. The next day, he texts her a good morning message. No reply. By noon, he sends another. Hey, hope you're having a good day. Still no reply. By evening, he sends, did I say something wrong? And just like that, attraction has. Not because she was never interested, but because he revealed himself reactive, insecure, unable to tolerate uncertainty. Now imagine if instead he texted once, then went about his day, went to the gym, posted a photo with friends, lived in his rhythm. By the time she checked her phone, she would feel his presence without desperation. That's the difference silence makes. Another instinct she notices the way you handle her emotions. When she's upset, when she's frustrated, when she throws a small storm your way, do you panic? Do you try to solve it immediately, to win back her approval? Or do you listen, breathe, and hold steady? A man who can weather her storm without trying to escape, it shows her something primal he can be trusted. Not because he solved her problem, but because he didn't collapse under her fire. This is leadership. This is containment. And she feels it without words. Even your relationship with space betrays you. When you walk, do you rush? Do you look down, weaving around others as though apologizing for your existence? Or do you walk at your pace, unhurried, eyes up, letting the world adjust around you? She notices, because that's not just walking, it's a broadcast of your entire psychology. A man who rushes tells her, I need to get somewhere to matter. A man who walks steady tells her, I already matter wherever I am. Guess which one she follows. You cannot rehearse these things in the moment. They're habits built in your daily life. Practice silence in your conversations. Train yourself to slow your breathing when tension rises. Resist the urge to explain yourself when accused. These are the micro-disciplines that forge presence. And once they become natural, women feel it instantly. You won't need to talk her into attraction, it will happen before your voice reaches her ears. So let me turn this on you. How do you usually react when a woman withdraws her attention? Do you lean back or do you chase? Have you ever noticed how your walk, your silence, your posture shifted the way she treated you without her ever saying it? Which habit of yours do you think silently betrays you the most? There's one more layer most men never realize. Women notice how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. She might not literally see you in those private moments, but she feels the residue of them when she's around you. If you neglect your body, if you let your posture crumble, if you scroll your nights away in distraction, it leaks into your presence. She doesn't need to know your routines. Your energy tells her. A man who disciplines himself radiates calm, certainty. A man who betrays himself radiates chaos. She feels it without you ever confessing a word. That's why the men who chase external tricks pickup lines, witty comebacks, flashy clothes always collapse eventually. They haven't built the inner weight that makes silence magnetic. Women can smell the hollowness. You can hide it from your buddies. You can pretend in front of strangers. But a woman's instincts cut deeper. She notices the hesitation in your breath, the tightness in your smile, the shallow roots of your confidence. And once she sees that, she never forgets. This is why detachment is so powerful, not coldness, not cruelty, Detachment, the ability to hold yourself regardless of what she does. When she ignores you, you remain whole. When she flirts with another man to see if you flinch, you smile with indifference, not because you don't care, but because you don't need control to prove your worth. She notices that more than any compliment. To her body, it reads like power. Here's a story that will sting. A man sits with a woman at a bar. She laughs at his jokes, leans in close, touches his arm. He thinks it's going perfectly. Then another man walks by, confident, unbothered, not even giving her much attention. Her eyes follow him for a second. The first man panics. He tries harder, talks louder, makes another joke, leans in more. But the more he does, the more she withdraws. Why? Because she already noticed what he didn't. The second man carried himself like he needed nothing. The first man betrayed himself the moment he tried to compete. She felt it instantly. That's the game most men lose without ever knowing they were playing. Here's the tactic the next time a woman tests you: delayed replies. Flirting with another man. Subtle sarcasm. Don't scramble. Don't explain. Don't plead. Sit with it. Let her see that her moves don't pull you off center. If she flirts with someone else, talk to the bartender. Laugh with your friends. Stay unshaken. If she delays her texts, continue your day. Respond later on your rhythm. If she teases you, smirk instead of sulk. These small acts of restraint tell her louder than words, I'm not moved by your storms. That's the message she can't resist. And it cuts even deeper your relationship with pain. Women notice if you avoid discomfort or if you lean into it. They sense if you're the man who hides from hard truths or the man who embraces them head on. When you face challenge without whining, when you take rejection without collapse, when you carry loss with steady eyes, she feels it. You don't need to talk about resilience. Your silence under pressure screams it for you. There's something magnetic about a man who doesn't panic when things go wrong. You've seen it yourself. Maybe at work, maybe in a fight, maybe in life. Some men crumble, some men explode, but the rare few stay still, calm and sharp. Women feel that same energy in dating. They notice how you carry the smallest slights, the little delays, the subtle challenges, and in those moments, they decide if you're worth their surrender or not. You don't need to win every interaction. You need to remain unshaken. Because the truth is, women don't fall for your perfection. They fall for your presence. They don't trust your promises. They trust your steadiness. They don't stay because of what you say. They stay because of how you make them feel in silence. And if you can hold that without words, you will never have to beg for their attention again. So, let me leave you with this. Have you ever panicked when another man entered the picture, only to realize you lost her by trying too hard? Have you ever noticed her test you and collapsed into over-explaining instead of holding still? What would it look like if, just once, you let her storm pass without needing to fix it? She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.